Yoo-hoo-hoo. What is going on, everyone? What's happening? Welcome on in. Coffee with Brodes. Monday morning. Yeah, that's it. It's Coffee with Brodes. It's Monday morning. Happy to be here. I'm happy that you're here as well. What we do is we drink coffee. So, so a lot on the table. The Phillies stink. There's no denying that. I can't stand watching this baseball team. Even though they split against the New York Mets, they had an opportunity to win 4 games, and they came out with 2. That's what losing teams do. This is a 500 baseball team-ish for a reason. They're actually below 500, but this is just what you get when you're a 500 baseball team. You get games that you should win, and you just shoot yourself in the foot 10,000 times. And then the audacity of Rhys Hoskins. So we'll get into that. Basketball, the NBA playoffs. Dwight Howard's in Atlanta watching the Hawks play, which is kind of hysterical. Doesn't really bother me. I know that there's some like, what's he doing? Well, I really don't give a damn what he does anymore, to be honest with you. And yeah, the Milwaukee Bucks come down the stretch in that fourth quarter and take control. The Phoenix Suns up 3-1. So there's a lot on the table. Yeah, the Montreal Canadiens. How about that? The Habs. Now, this individual, Sam, thinks the Habs are going to win in 4. It's a little aggressive considering how strong Tampa Bay is. But look, the optimism's cool. I'm here for the Montreal Canadiens to win the cup. I'm all here for it. All right, so take your first sip of coffee with me. We got the monkey mug today. Why? No idea, but we're going to use it. Cheers, everyone. Thanks for being in here. Take that beautiful first sip and go afterwards. Amazing. Okay. So where does the chat want to begin? What's up, Fran? What's happening? Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, Misfit. Just call me Flair. Chris, hello. Addison. Ben Simmons for Brittany Griner. Oh, that's where we're at here. Oh, that's crazy. That's crazy. A Tour says, although I'd rather keep Tobias than Ben, I don't care if we have to trade both. Well, that's just irrational because we're talking about financially trying to make this work and all throughout the NBA. That's not even a thing. So, all right, Damian Lillard, Ben Simmons. I got you. All right, we'll start with Dame time. Yeah, I'm doing everything I possibly can to trade for that individual. Tyrese Maxey shouldn't stop you. Matisse Thybulle shouldn't stop you. A bunch of first-round picks shouldn't stop you. Be able to team up Damian Lillard and Joel Embiid. Yeah, I'm all in. Okay, we're doing it. We're going to grab them. We're doing what we need to do. I'm giving up any young player. No young player should keep you away from Dame, who, by the way, is signed for 4 years after this. And keep in mind, his name is Dame time. He's taking the last-second shots. Now, Joel Embiid is a superstar too, so he's going to have to get his. My point is this. You're relying on a 7'2" center to dribble into the paint and into the areas where he needs to start operating because he doesn't have a point guard. Now you have an actual threat with the ball in his hands who's not afraid to take last-second shots, and he can create his own shot. It's everything you're looking for. It's literally everything you're looking for is Damian Lillard. So you have to make it happen. Lillard still playing fantasy basketball. In what universe? You have a really upset star in Portland who's not happy with how the organization is handling things with their head coaching hire, and he's questioning if they can build a championship team around him. So that's normally step one here. I would agree with you. If Dame didn't want out, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that Daryl Morey has the power with Ben Simmons to go get Damian Lillard. You need to be right time, right space, right time. Just like with a lot of things. It just comes down to, well, luckily it all came into place then. And right now, luckily, this is all coming into place where Damian Lillard wants out. The Portland Trail Blazers need to get the best in return. Now, can the Sixers offer the best? I don't know. I don't know if Ben Simmons, Tyrese Maxey, first-round picks, if that's the best offer they're going to get, considering we know the flaws. We also don't know what direction the Portland Trail Blazers want to go in. Do they want to do something like the OKC Thunder, where the Sixers' first-round picks aren't going to do anything for them, and they truly want to strip this thing down? Or do they look at Tyrese Maxey as a player that's basically a first-round pick. He's a first-round pick type of player that we'd be picking with our first-round picks. So that is basically that. Is that the way they look at it? It all depends. It all depends. Brent says Morey went hard after Lowry and Harden. There's no doubt in my mind he goes all out. I don't know how hard he went for Kyle Lowry, to be honest, just because you'd have to get rid of Danny Green. And remember, at the time, you looked at Danny Green, and it's not just at the time, it's a serious thought. But Danny Green was a very important role, and he was very important to the locker room, the culture of where the team was. I don't know how hard he went after Lowry. I'm sure he did his due diligence and he made some phone calls and he figured some things out and he had some conversations. But I felt the Harden thing was way closer of a realistic trade than anything with the Lowry news. Yeah, but there's no doubt Daryl Morey's all in and making phone calls and seeing what can come out of this. If we can't get Dame, who would be the second best target? Yeah, I mean, if you're looking down the list of players that are, I don't know how possible they really are, but yeah, of course, Bradley Beal, Zach LaVine, those are names that are out there. Maybe there's an out of the box type of trade of someone we're not thinking about, and Daryl Morey just pulls the trigger, snaps his fingers, and we're like, whoa, Daryl Morey did what now? In a good way, that is. But yeah, I said this on Farzi's show, the Mark Farzetta's show this morning. And, there's this narrative out there that you can't trade Ben Simmons unless you get better. And I think that that's wrong. The mentality to have is you don't trade Ben Simmons unless you get worse. But I'll happily trade Ben Simmons to stay the same because you're at least getting back to playing 5-on-5. So if you move Ben Simmons for not getting better and you move Ben Simmons to be a second round exit team again, I'm taking that because it still puts you in the better position moving forward to play 5-on-5 basketball again, and Ben Simmons doesn't give you that ability. So I would trade him to stay the same. So if that's a D'Angelo Russell, if that's a CJ McCollum, if those are the type of players you can get for Ben Simmons at the end of this, now it's going to hurt because right now we have a little bit of expectations to be able to possibly land a Damian Lillard because of the excitement and knowing he wants out. But ultimately, if you can get D'Angelo Russell, who can give you 20-plus points per game, shoot 40% from three, or CJ McCollum, 23 points per game, and can shoot good from distance as well. I'm doing it. I'm doing it. That's where we're at now. Watch me trade Simmons, and a year later, he's hitting jumpers everywhere. He's never going to just be a jump shooter. It's just reality, Nick. He's never going to be an actual jump shooter. What makes us think that that's going to happen? And if he does, so be it. We don't have the time to wait here forever. If he does at 28, 29, 30 years old, all right, so be it. It didn't happen for the first 5 years. It didn't mean that Sixers did him wrong because he had plenty of chances here at this point. Plenty of opportunities. Where's my trust level with Morey? I do think, and I'm not trying to be negative here, but I'm just analyzing the situation. He is one of the better basketball of operations people in the NBA. He's one of the better GMs in the NBA. With that said, he gets a lot of praise for someone who hasn't won. So I feel comfortable because, if you look around and you look at the alternatives, there's not much higher out there. He's also never won. He's also never put it together with these major star trades. And I'm not trying to put a damper on anybody here. I'm not trying to look extremely negative at this. I'm just literally analyzing it. He's never knocked it out of the park fully to win the championship and lift the Larry O'Brien with the major moves that he made. But he's willing to make those major moves, which makes me feel that he understands that Ben Simmons needs to go and he's going to be picking up the phone. So, just looking at it. Making a panic trade. It's not a panic trade, John. It's been 5 years. Panic trade would have been when he was 21, when he was 22. He'll be 25 in July and he's not taking a shot. At what point is it like, what's a panic trade? It's not a panic trade. It's been 5 years. It's been 5 years. How's that a panic? It's crazy. X-Ray says that Luka is unhappy, isn't he? He would be my number one target. Yeah, but that's not a realistic one. Luka Doncic is staying in Dallas. Luka Doncic is not forcing his way out of Dallas just yet. Sure, things aren't running as smoothly as he would like there, but he's Look, you're the Dallas Mavericks. You're not getting rid of Luka Doncic. You're doing anything, everything in your power to make sure that that individual stays there. And he's just not at that point yet. So it's starting to maybe generate some noise. But the Luka Doncic thing, he is nowhere close to being in the category of the Sixers are going to go make a trade for Luka Doncic, okay? Dame, Seth, Tobias, and Embiid on the offense. Yeah, I mean, it would be insane to watch pick and roll, to watch Damian Lillard create his own shots, to watch him shoot from threes. No, Paul, there's no way in hell. See, as much as I'm trading Ben Simmons for anything, basically that, keeps you at least a second round exit team, I'm not trading Ben Simmons for Andrew Wiggins. There's no way in hell I'm trading him for Andrew Wiggins. I heard another one with the Sacramento Kings, Marvin Bagley, Buddy Hield, and a first round pick. No, no. That's not even close to the same as a D'Angelo Russell or a CJ McCollum. So, like those type of trades are just absolutely hilarious. There's no shot in hell. Yeah, every time you get to the playoffs, Ben Simmons doesn't show up. It's because his game doesn't resonate really with playoff basketball. What he thrives in, which is amazing. He's amazing in certain areas. It's not what playoff basketball is all about. He's so good in the open floor. He's so good passing the basketball when you're talking about transition. Transition basketball is very limited in playoffs, especially as you move on. First round, okay, maybe. Second round, maybe at times, but you even saw that. Games are close, and when games get close in the fourth quarter, it changes big time, and you start having to clamp down, and it starts getting possession by possession, and everything starts to kind of shrink, and you don't have the time and space. And Ben Simmons, that's what he's horrendous at. Absolutely garbage, really. That's what he's bad at, is half-court basketball. So the Colin Sexton thing is fascinating to me because I think that he's a dog, and I think that he's a player. Would I be trading Ben Simmons for Colin Sexton? I'd really have to think about that one. I'd really have to think about that one. I don't love it. I don't love it. D'Angelo Russell sucks too. Maybe. Ben Simmons sucks then. I mean, it's like, it is what it is. It is what it is, as Ben said. He doesn't suck. I mean, he literally, when he plays more minutes, because he didn't give you a full amount of minutes play that he would as a starter here, averages over 20 points per game. He averaged 19 points in 28 minutes, but when he played 32 minutes a night, he was averaging 23 points per game. And last year, he shot 39% from three. So basically a 40% three-point shooter last year. That gave you 20 points. I wouldn't say that full out sucks, and hey, he's only 24. I heard people say Russell, and I'm like, nah. Well, it might have to be a player like that. Or you're stuck with Ben, who can't win you a playoff game. So I mean, it is what it is. So you're the same person that says Ben doesn't have an NBA game; he's got a Euro League game. But you're the same individual saying, yeah, but when you say D'Angelo Russell, I'm like, nah. Well, what are we doing here? We're playing 4-on-5 basketball. You're basically admitting I'd rather have someone that doesn't have an NBA game than have someone who does relate to an NBA game in 2021. Philly Ace would love to have Dame here. He can work with Joel Embiid. That would be a great duo. It would be arguably the best duo in basketball. I mean, that's how lethal it is. Sure, Steph Curry and Klay Thompson is an amazing duo. I'm not telling you it is the best. I'm telling you it has a chance to be the best, and that's not overhyping it. That's not going too far. That's not, well, you're just over expecting just like you do with every other team. That's not really the case here. They actually would be. Rather have CJ McCollum than D'Angelo Russell? Okay. I mean, that's fine. I'm not disagreeing with you. They're both in the same tier to me. CJ and D'Angelo Russell are basically in that same category. So you're just getting a different style. One person can play on ball more. The other person can play off ball more. I'm definitely looking for someone to play more on ball, even though I like Tyrese Maxey in this hypothetical that does not have Damian Lillard in it. I would love to have a primary ball handler like D'Angelo Russell. Tyrese Maxey could come off the bench. I mean, that would be how I would do it. While with CJ McCollum, you'd have Seth Curry coming off your bench, maybe, and you'd have CJ McCollum as your starting two with Tyrese Maxey, which is an interesting backcourt for sure. But yeah, it's interesting. Would I worry about the bench? Of course. I mean, you'd be thin. There's no denying that you'd be thin, but you need superstar talent. You need superstar talent to win a championship. And if it costs you a bench piece to do that, and then you're worried about a thin bench, like I would take superstar talent in Damian Lillard and Joel Embiid and a questionable bench over having a nice bench and now trying to force your team around Joel Embiid without another superstar. And you just have nice players surrounding him, but you have a better bench. Yeah, no doubt about it. I'm taking the superstar and the thin bench. The Brooklyn Nets was basically that. Now, at the time, you had some veterans come around, but that'll happen here with Philadelphia. You'll have veterans like the Blake Griffins and those players who'd want to sign the veteran minimums to come here and go play with the Sixers with Dame and Joel to try and win a championship. That moves the needle for sure. But with Kevin Durant, I mean, Kevin Durant almost did it single-handedly. You see what one star does. The problem was Kyrie hurt. The problem was James Harden had that tweaked hamstring, so he was never fully capable. It all comes down to, like, you need superstars to win a championship. You do. Lillard was ridiculous. Lillard's always ridiculous. There's a reason why we call him Dame Time. There's a reason why we call him Game Time. CJ's old. He's 29. I mean, let's not blow this out of proportion here as if he's 37. And terrible in the playoffs, too. He had a bad run at it, sure. But that's my point here. It's like, John says, what are we doing here? You can no way trade Ben for CJ. Go down ahead. So let me get this straight. We're trading Ben Simmons for a reason. Why? Because he's terrible in the playoffs. So you might have to trade him for another person who has his own flaws, who has his own issues. Like, you're not going to trade Ben Simmons. And while right now this hypothetical Dame is great, and maybe it happens because of right time, right space, and sometimes you get lucky with the star being unhappy, but you can't just wait for that forever. Right now it seems to be possible, so sure, but that's the outlier. If that wasn't the case and Dame wasn't unhappy, to expect to trade Ben, who is an extremely flawed player, and get a perfect player in return is ridiculous. Ben's not as good as you think he is. He's just flat out not. He can't play in the playoffs at all because he can't shoot a basketball. So Ben Simmons, this wouldn't be an ultimate fleece job because Ben Simmons is not good. So to get CJ McCollum back in return, you're getting a player with his own version of flaws, but he can at least shoot a basketball and play 5-on-5. CJ McCollum had a tough playoffs because he was missing some shots, not because he can't shoot a basketball and he's an extremely afraid player who literally lost his damn mind and forgot how to play the sport in the most important moments. That's the big difference here. So, I mean, you're overblowing, by the way, how old he is. 29 is not that old, and he's better than what he showed in this playoff. Ben Simmons isn't, because I have a huge track record of it all to show you that he shrinks and he doesn't play the sport and he sits there and does nothing every possession in the half court. Every possession in the half court. Ben's stock is so low. It's not so low. It's lower than it once was, but there's teams around the league that would still do it. It's lower than it was in terms of getting James Harden, but it's not low where the league still has interest. It definitely does. That's why, but Wiggins brings it to a whole new level of flawed. I mean, Wiggins blows. If Ben Simmons stinks, Wiggins blows. I mean, Wiggins is by far. I said, what did I say? I wouldn't do it if it makes your team worse. Would I do it if it keeps your team the same? Yes. I think CJ McCollum keeps your team the same. I think D'Angelo Russell keeps your team the same. I think Andrew Wiggins makes your team worse. I really do mean that. No, Killer. WT Killer says, I think a bench of Paul Reed and Isaiah Joe has potential. No. If we're talking about winning a championship, if you have Damian Lillard and you have Joel Embiid and you're going on a masterful ride in the playoffs, Isaiah Joe is not what we're talking about here for the bench, right? We're talking about going, first off, no more 10, 11 deep bullshit. We'd be talking about going 8 deep, a real NBA playoff team, go 8 deep. If Isaiah Joe is sniffing minutes in an NBA playoff Eastern Conference Finals going 8 deep, well, then your bench is way too thin. Way too thin. No one thinks that. It's going to be Ben, Picks, Thibault. Oh, yeah, no, it's definitely going to be that. I get that, but you need a Damian Lillard to be unhappy. that's what you need. You need a Damian Lillard to be unhappy, which is fine. He is unhappy right now. But I'm just saying, if it doesn't happen where it's not Dame, that doesn't mean I'm shutting off all the other possibilities because you didn't land Damian Lillard. I'm still making the trade because Ben Simmons doesn't work, okay? Ben Simmons does not work. And that's not just throwing him away for nothing. It's not. It's not. You wouldn't have to give up as much. You wouldn't have to mortgage as much. Now, I'm willing to mortgage as much as possible to go get Damian Lillard. That would never hold me back. I'm just saying, if you don't get Dame, that's not holding me back from trading Ben Simmons because he's a huge issue. Nick Nurse likes to go 8 deep in the playoffs. I don't think you can go 10-11. No, you can't. You can't. That's why we're screaming about Doc Rivers the way that we scream about Doc Rivers, because it's absolutely asinine to go that deep. Nathan says, ew, Wiggins had a good year, actually. Wiggins is not good. Andrew Wiggins is not good. I am not trading Ben, and that's saying a lot. Listen, I'm not trading Ben Simmons for Andrew Wiggins. He shot 30. He's a 34% three-point shooter in his career. He did have his best three-point shooting season this past year, though. But yeah, I'm not trading for Andrew Wiggins. I don't think the duo of Andrew Wiggins and Joel Embiid moves my needle. I love Damian Lillard. This is from I love Damian, but I feel like he stays in Portland. He ain't as serious about winning as he claims. I mean, have you been following what's going down here? And trust me, I understand that there's a lot of smoke screens involved, and there's a lot of things that get released, and there's a lot of information that goes around town. But this is not just that. I mean, Chris Haynes, it would be different if the organization says it tries to leak information. Oh, we're gonna keep Dame, this and that. I mean, that part of it is media stories getting leaked out so you can try and keep Damian Lillard, or like when Ben Simmons. Well, the Sixers would be okay with keeping Ben. Of course you say that because that means you are trying to acquire more assets for whoever's picking up the phone because they think you want to keep Damian Lillard. So that side of it would be the media getting leaked information from people inside the Portland Trailblazers. When it comes to the other side of it, Damian Lillard wants out. That's a different side. And Chris Haynes is reporting the coaching search, the concerns of being able to build a championship there could force Damian Lillard to request out. I don't think it's just a bunch of bull. I think it's legitimate. If this Damian requests a trade, do you think the Sixers have a chance? Yes, absolutely, Benji. They do have a chance. Ben Simmons, a bunch of picks to trade, Tyrese Maxey. I mean, yeah, they do. I don't know what the other teams are going to offer. I mean, I'm not going to act as if it's going to be the best offer they get. There possibly could be way more. If the Portland Trailblazers watch the playoffs, which I'm sure they did, I'm sure they have a lot of question marks surrounding Ben Simmons. Whereas if this happened last offseason, we'd probably be having a different conversation and they would feel higher on Ben Simmons. But I think if you're looking around the league on what possibly could be in a trade package, you're up there. You're up there in terms of what you can offer. So I think they'll be in the mix for one of the better offers. Is it going to be the best? Well, I don't know. Because guess what? When Damian Lillard becomes available, we're not the only city that gets all excited about it. We're not the only city that gets all emotional about it, thinking that it's going to go down. So, I mean, every team is thinking the same thing. If we can get Dame, if we can get this guy, if we can add him to our stars, if we can play him next to whoever their star is, we can go win a championship. What can we package together? I mean, every team has that. So I think they can put together a package that can hang with the best. I just don't know if it would be the best. Well, Carmen, it's going to be, if you're asking, a legit trade asset. Oh, who else has legit? Anyone, because anyone can put anybody on the table. So any team. I mean, we're talking about Damian Lillard here. So everything's on the table. You're going to have to give to get. No one just plucks Damian Lillard without giving any sort of talent in return or just giving them. You got to match the contract. So you got to give up money involved for sure. But anyone can be involved because we're talking about trading for Damian Lillard. When a player of this nature becomes available, any player on any team is in the conversation. Philly, Boston, New Orleans, Heat. And, I mean, you're just naming teams that have good players. Every team that has good players can absolutely have it. Yes, Damian Lillard does have 4 years left, and my man is getting paid too. If you look at how much we're talking here, I think by the end, he's getting paid $45 million a year, which is imagine getting that game check. It's absolutely insane. 39 million this upcoming year, 42 and a half the following, 45 and a half the year after that, $48.7 million in that 2024-25 season. It's absolutely insane. Absolutely insane. Do I think that Damian Lillard has a say? Wanting to play with Joel and coached by Doc. Great show, man. Watch all the time. Greetings from Greece. Well, thank you so much, man. I appreciate that. Do I think that Dame has a say? To a degree, yes and no. I mean, if you're going to force your way out of town, you see this happen all the time. It's the NBA. So, yeah, I mean, they do find their ways. They talk to their agent. They say that if you're going to trade me here, I'm not going to play, which then scares the opposing team of making the trade, knowing that Damian Lillard would be extremely unhappy there. I mean, that's one way to do it. The difference here compared to some other situations is if this superstar doesn't have those 4 years extended to his deal, well, then it's like a 1-year deal. Is it worth giving up an X amount of package if you don't know if he's going to stay? But since he is tied to that contract, it is a different scenario. But there's plenty of ways to scare an opposing team. If you don't want to go to a certain city, it's the NBA. They have the power. They run the asylum. They can tell their agent to say certain things, and they can leak certain things to the media about, well, I wouldn't really play there, so they better not make that trade, this and that. Is Damian Lillard that type of player? I would probably say no, but I can't rule anything out. Does he have say as if, hey, you better trade me here? I mean, look, if you're demanding out, you're demanding out. From there, it's on the front office to get the best deal in return for their organization. So I would say no, but I know how this league works, and there's some involved in it. But he's not going to say, I want to go here. You better trade me here. Because if I'm in the front office, I'm done flipping the double bird. Dame is going to be another Anthony Davis situation, says JWI. What does that mean? He's going to go win a championship? He's going to go join a superstar and win a championship? Is that what you mean by that? I don't know what that means. I'm not trading Ben Simmons for Andrew Wiggins and picks. And trust me, there's no way Daryl Morey does that either. There's no way. I would really question Daryl Morey if he traded Andrew Wiggins and picks. We might not have what we thought we have, if that's the case. Ben Simmons, Shake Milton, a second rounder for Levine. Solves our backup center, too. Oh, man. Every time I see him, all I picture is a Boston Celtics uniform. There's always that tall white center that isn't really good, that stretches the floor for the Celtics and ends up cashing 5 threes in your face. And he's definitely one of them. Backup center and starting point guard. Yeah, I mean, I think right now we're in such Damian Lillard mode that it's hard for me to think about somebody else. But if you get Zach LaVine in return, I'm with you. I did hear Tyrone Johnson, though, go off about how you can't trade Shake Milton because of you thinking of this bench and how much money he's getting paid. And you can't give up that type of contract and a player of that caliber, which isn't anything special. But in terms of us talking about a thin bench and whatnot, he's 24 years old and makes $1.7 million. He makes $1.8 million next year and $1.9 million the following year. And if you're thinking about having any sort of bench, you just cannot trade Shake Milton with that type of money tied to his name when you're thinking about what you need to get off of your bench. So it's like almost like you can't put him in there because you'd really be hurting yourself. So that's just what Tyrone Johnson was saying, and very valid points for sure. Malik thinks that Doc has been overrated since Boston when they won that championship. The Lakers were just injured. Well, I mean, dude, you're totally discrediting how good that Boston Celtics team was. Hall of Famers galore. Ray Allen, Paul Pierce, Kevin Garnett. Come on now. Rondo in the mix. I mean, really? They only won because of Lakers? No. They're one of the best teams we've seen. They're one of the best super teams. For any idiot out there that thinks LeBron James created the super team, Look at what the Boston Celtics had with that squad. And by the way, they were nasty. I mean, come on. That Celtics team was insane. Bust the Scammer 2 thinks that we need to get rid of Ben and get rid of Doc Rivers. Here's why you're not going to get rid of Doc Rivers. If you look at his contract, and by the way, Brett Brown is still getting paid. So you're paying Brett Brown, and you also have a contract of, why is this not the actual full? 5-year, $40 million contract, including an annual average salary of $8 million. So you're not just going to fire Doc and have that $40 million laying around while you're still paying Brett Brown. It's just not going to happen. It's reality of the situation. So while everyone's thinking maybe you can go out and get Carlisle or something of that nature, which, I wouldn't be opposed to switching coaches already, because I think we've seen enough out of Doc Rivers' tenure in the entire NBA, not just this season, the entire NBA, to tell you how brutal he is in certain areas, and which costs teams playoff runs for sure. I mean, there's a huge track record involved here. It's not just minor. It's not a small sample size. It's a legitimate conversation because it happens every single damn year. It's just not going to happen because of financial decisions. Tyrese Holder doesn't want to get rid of Doc. Really? Now, why is that, Tyrese? I want to hear from you back in the comments section. Why do you feel that strongly about Doc Rivers? If they keep him, fine. But if they got rid of him, okay. He's shown me nothing that thinks that he's the guy. But at the same time, I know the roster wasn't constructed to win a championship. But I know if the roster is constructed to win a championship, I'd still be questioning all of his decisions. So that's what concerns me the most. Dan, you really think I'm going to fall for this? Dan in all capitals goes, "Oh my God, Brodes. Dame to Philly. Go check Twitter." Like, do you really believe that I'm going to sit here right now and fall for that? That was arguably the worst attempt in the world. I mean, it wasn't even a good attempt. We got to be better. Trade for Kyrie. Nets are sick of him. I saw that going around town too. The swapping of the two players. You know what? I'd do that in a heartbeat. I know Kyrie has question marks in terms of, being available for his team, and he's a little out there sometimes with some of his thoughts and whatnot. But if you're telling me you can get a guard with the skill set of Kyrie Irving to play alongside Joel Embiid, I'm doing that in a second. Absolutely. Oh, I'm trading for Kyrie if that's the thing. But I don't see the Brooklyn Nets and Ben Simmons making trades. The Sixers and the Brooklyn Nets, two teams that in theory are going to be fighting for the Eastern Conference for the next couple of years, are going to be making a trade of this caliber. Now, if it helps out both teams, it helps out both teams. But come on, I'd still do it. Kyrie's always hurt and thinks the earth is flat. The earth is flat thing is hilarious. He'll never live that one down, huh? Well, it's funny, JWI, how many people didn't want Ty Lue? If you go back to the time of the hire, I don't want Ty Lue. Ty Lue was only a product of LeBron James. LeBron won that championship. Ty Lue has no idea how to coach. I mean, if we're going back in time now, I think it's hilarious to see the hindsight and see everyone's reaction to how phenomenal Ty Lue is when it comes to in-game adjustments. But at the time, nobody wanted him at all, because he only won a championship due to LeBron James. And now everybody wants him. I mean, what's going on here? Doc has a championship in 2008. So that means the Phillies are a good organization because they won a championship in 2008. 2008, it's 2021. And he had a historic team with them. He's had the problem is with Doc, he's had a billion chances to do it again and failed miserably. Not every coach that has a championship means that you're an elite head coach, because it's the NBA. And the product is what you have on the floor. Coaches have to push the right buttons. Coaches have a role. It's not as much of a role as others think. When it comes to Doc Rivers, just because you win a championship does not mean you're an elite coach. It does not mean you're an elite coach. So great to see all the hinky folks figuring out a way Covington could be in a Lillard here. Get Covington out of my face. Get Robert Covington out of my face. I want nothing to do with Robert Covington. Now, of course, if Lillard is the part of that, then fine, I'll take it. I'll sacrifice my mental health of watching Robert Covington play basketball to get Damian Lillard. But come on with this Rocco thing. Wasn't he a first team all? He's like the most overrated first team defender I've ever seen in my entire life. Let me get that straight before we go off on that. Didn't he make first team all defense one year? I mean, he was named NBA All Defensive First Team in 2018. That is a joke. That's embarrassing to defensive basketball. For a defender, he sucked one-on-one. Like, he was horrendous one-on-one as a great defender, as one of the best defenders in the NBA. What a joke. What a joke. Rocco stinks. Rocco stinks. Doc is Peyton Manning of basketball coaching. What is that supposed to mean? I don't even know where you even start the comparison between those two. Peyton Manning won Super Bowls. Now, sure, Denver Broncos needed a little bit of help there defensively when he was no longer in his prime. But no, come on. Come on now. I don't even know how I would love to see how you start the comparison here. Rocco is nice. Okay. People put way too much stock on Robert Covington. Now, I'm talking more about the Robert Covington back with the Sixers. There was way too much love for Robert Covington back with the Sixers. I didn't realize that 8 points per game was nice. Gives you 8 points per game. Plays 32 minutes. 8 points in 32 minutes. Real nice. Come on now. Come on now. Oh, that's crazy. Robert Covington's nice. Oh, man. Rocco would brick 50 shots. Yeah, I mean, look, he was in a position. I will admit, he was in a position where he probably shouldn't have been. So am I getting mad at a player for being in a spot where the team was clearly constructed in a bad spot? Stop hating. I'm just giving you the facts. I mean, he's not as good as what people think he is. That's all. Just factual information. It's factual information. He's a role player. I got it. I know. I get it. He's a role player. But that's the problem here. People don't look at him as a role player. And he gave you 32 minutes a night and gave you 8 points. There's a 91 overall Covington Sixers in 2K for a reason. Wow. That's brutal. There's a 91 overall Covington. Well, let's not act as if every decision 2K makes is a good one, because I'm sure you're the same person, Vincent, that rips apart 2K for some brutal things and for the way that their game is played. It's not as if I hear all great things about NBA 2K anymore. Everyone's always bitching and complaining. Do I like Rocco more than Furk? Oh, yeah, no doubt. I'll take Rocco over Cork Moss any single day of the week. So, no, the hate is nowhere even close to Furkan Cork Moss level at all. When does trades in the NBA begin to get hot? Well, probably after the NBA playoffs, as you start entering the NBA draft. When we start going NBA draft territory is when we get that, that hot start for sure. Fran says, Vincent, you editing Covington's attributes doesn't count. I'm not a big 2K guy. I play like every other year, and it's like offline mode. I'm not into like the my teams and the my parks and all that and getting my cards and whatnot. So who knows? Vincent could have been absolutely lying there. I have no idea if he has a 91 overall or not. I have no idea if it's real or not. I love how we're on a Robert Covington conversation when we could be getting Damian Lillard. Look, if he's part of the Damian Lillard trade, I gotcha. But you got to work around money just to get Damian Lillard to work out, and he's making a lot of money. Now, I know Ben's making a lot of money, so it's not that insane. But if we start throwing around all these other pieces too, you got to start matching their salary as well, which, you can only give up so much. You're going to take X amount to grab you Damian Lillard to begin with. 2K21 is just as bad as the Phillies defense. Don't even get me started on the Phillies defense. They're a joke. The Phillies suck. The Phillies are just not a good baseball team. And people are getting convinced, well, they could have won 4 with the best team in the division, so they're not as far as they are. No, they're far. They're far. They're really far. Alec Boehm does not work at third base. Reese Hoskins does not work at first base. Andrew McCutchen is nice right now, but I mean, he's clearly way overpaid, and he's not going to be here next year out in left field. Bryce Harper's hurt every single time. You spent way too much money on the catcher position, way too much money on the catcher position, which is limiting where you can go elsewhere. Didi Gregorius is injured, and I have no idea what to expect from him when we're talking about him coming back and returning whenever it is, if it's even this season or if we're talking about next season. There's really nothing. There's really nothing to be happy about with this franchise at all. Bryson Stott, Mick Abel. I mean, they're nice names, but I was hearing the same thing about Spencer Howard. Alec Boehm has 4 home runs. 4 home runs. That's absurd. I mean, that's garbage, to be honest with you. Alec Boehm is a player that can hit the other way. He can hit with 2 strikes. I got it. I'm with you. A nice June, if you will. 4 home runs is unacceptable. Unacceptable. He's on pace for somewhere between 8 to 10 homers. What are we talking about here? Alec Boehm was supposed to be way more than 8 to 10 home runs. I demand more. I demand way more. Alec Boehm needs to get sent down. No, he doesn't. No, he doesn't. We're sending him down to do what? What at third base? Brad Miller? I mean, for real. I mean, he's not a bust. You can't say bust right now. He's in his second year, and his first year was a 60-game season. I mean, he shows you things that he can do. He's not a full-on bust. But four home runs right now is unacceptable. He's not as much of a power hitter. Doesn't make him a full bust. But I'm disappointed he's not as much of a power hitter as we thought. My thoughts on what Nick Pivetta said, I honestly did not hear what he had to say about the Phillies. So I'm going to look that up right now. I'll be honest, I don't do too much research on what Nick Pivetta is saying anymore in my life. Nick Pivetta, Red Sox culture, is that going to be good? Nick Pivetta shades the Phillies after shutout performance with the Red Sox. I think what it is these guys know how to win. The biggest difference is I learned how to be a part of a baseball club that has an understanding of how to win. Is that it? I mean, he's not wrong. Yeah, the Phillies are a losing organization. I'm just trying to read some more here. Oh. Mike Gill tweeted, people are being paid money to ruin the Phillies franchise. It's actually pretty impressive how horrible they are being run. Complete organization failure. Look how much people improved, like Pivetta and Cole Irving is another name. Cole Irving gave you, 8 shutout innings yesterday, 8 scoreless innings? Insane. Oh, he's definitely not wrong. I mean, this franchise loses over and over and over and over and over again. This is a losing franchise. I'd take 245 average if you're at 14 homers for Boehm, but that's not true. Yeah, I mean, I don't even know if I'm watching guys hit 25, 26, and I know it's hard to demand something like that. You can't just pick Vlad Guerrero Jr., Fernando Tatis Jr., and now Kyle Schwarber out of nowhere just took off and has been crushing the baseball left and right and hitting dingers every single damn day. It's like, you don't have that pop. There's not one player in this franchise right now that's must watch, and that includes Bryce Harper. So you have no one. You have no one that you need to watch this baseball team for, which just shows you where their juice is. They don't have any. They don't have any. Brodes, would the defense scare you if you have Lillard, Seth Curry in the starting lineup? No, it's the NBA. It's the NBA. Defense is overrated. Now, you need some defense. You have Joel Embiid, though, who could defend. You have Matisse Thybulle that you could defend with. You have players that can help you out on the defensive side, but this narrative of you can't win without Ben's defense, you can't win with his offense. You can't win with his offense. Offense is more important than defense in the NBA. I'll take the most explosive offensive players that can't defend over defensive players that can't score. So, no, I wouldn't be that worried about it. Now, there's going to be times where Seth Curry gets picked on, but there's also going to be times where Damian Lillard picks on guys and Joel Embiid picks on guys. I mean, that's the NBA. To act as if you don't have Seth Currys out there on championship teams that struggle defensively. Of course you do. Of course you do. You can't have 5 elite defenders out there. That's just not how it works. So, no, I think people put too much stock in defense in the NBA to a degree. It matters. I'm not saying it doesn't matter, but elite offense beats it every single time. Well, majority of the time. And majority of the time is, what you're looking for. Thibault may not be an option if he's included in the deal. So to get the money to work, you're right. It might be Matisse Thybulle, but I feel that's probably going to be Tyrese Maxey over Matisse Thybulle. It's probably going to be Tyrese Maxey. And maybe it is both. You're right, but you work around that. Not having Thybulle and Tyrese Maxey is not going to stop me from making a move for Damian Lillard. It's just not going to happen. You have Joel Embiid in the paint, which can help with the rim protection, and that's a big start. From there, if you're Daryl Morey, you start thinking about what you can do defensively, but that doesn't stop you. Doesn't stop you. DJ says, hey, Brodes, love hearing you on 97.5. Keep growing the brand. Thank you so much, man. I have a blast on the Fanatic. I was on both days this weekend. Really fun. 3 hours Saturday night. Ben Simmons calls nonstop, as you'd imagine. Last night, I was on from 4 to 8. Well, I guess afternoon into the night. And then next weekend, I'll be on again on Saturday. But Sunday's July 4th, so nobody's going to be on then. So I'll be on next Saturday as well if you are looking to tune in, DJ. But thank you so much for the support. I appreciate it. The truth states that Doc and his coaching staff pulled a lot of potential out of our players all year. I'd be fine with keeping him for another year. Seth, Tobias, and Embiid and all showed us something different. That's true. I mean, you can't deny that when you look at the regular season, that Doc Rivers did get a lot out of the players, and you can't just throw that under the rug as if that wasn't real. It was real, and it really did happen. He did. He got the most out of Tobias. He seems to be the only coach that can get the most out of Tobias Harris. Now, Joel Embiid, a lot of people put it on Doc. I put it on Joel. For Joel taking an MVP jump the way that he did, if Doc Rivers had that type of power, he'd be the best coach to ever live. A lot of that was on Joel, but Doc Rivers did put him in some spaces to succeed and whatnot. So he did have a role, but majority of the praise goes to Joel. It'll be like 90% of it goes on Joel, 10% on Doc Rivers. And yeah, guys played well. Guys played well under Doc this season. So he is a part of the success that he had. But I go back to Doc's been around long enough. This isn't a 1-year thing. We're not just basing this off of 1 year of failures. We're basing this off of a long laundry list of issues with Doc Rivers, and it's the same, and nothing's changing. So he's unwilling to change. He's unwilling to adapt, which is just wild to me because Doc Rivers is a smart guy. He's a very intelligent human being, and he's been around the block for quite some time. You'd think at some point you'd look yourself in the mirror and ask the question, why? Why do these teams keep underachieving? Why do we have more talent, and why do we keep falling? Why am I playing bench players this amount of time in the playoffs? Why am I going 10 deep in game 7 when everyone's saying that that's ridiculous? Is it ridiculous? Maybe I should start self-assessing. And Doc just doesn't seem to do that, which is crazy because he's a smart man. Yes, I would trade Maxey, Matisse, Ben, and picks. There's nothing that would stop me in that scenario. That's probably what it might take. Of course I'm going to do that. That would never stop me. I'm never stopping to go get a player like Damian Lillard because of bench players. Do I believe Danny Green will be back? Having Matisse might make him redundant. In what world is Danny Green and Matisse Thybulle making anything redundant? One player is a 3-and-D guy. The other guy's just a defensive player. It's not even close. Not even close to being redundant. I heard Doc Rivers was speaking with Danny Green saying that you're going to be back. You're going to be back. Trust me, you're going to be back. I'm paraphrasing, but it was along the lines of you're going to be back, as if he thinks or knows that Daryl Morey is going to put something together to get Danny Green back in place. So I would be very happy to bring Danny Green back. I think bringing Danny Green back is actually a very strong move and a very smart move. So I would do it. Losing Ben and Matisse would hurt us defensively. You get Damian Lillard, man. You get Damian Lillard. Damian Lillard. I can bet you that Thybulle works on his jump shot this offseason, but we may not even see the rewards if he's traded. Maybe. Who cares, though? Because if he's traded and you get Damian Lillard, I don't care about Matisse Thybulle's jump shots. Because you have Damian Lillard, who can give you 50, score game-winning shots, create his own shot, utilize the pick and roll. I'll take that over 18 minutes of Matisse Thybulle. Would I trade for D'Lo? Yes. Yes, I would. Yes, I would. I would trade for D'Angelo Russell if you cannot get Damian Lillard. I'm not trading for D'Lo before you go all in and put all your chips in one basket here and go all in, all your eggs in one basket, push all the chips forward. I combine 2 there. But yeah, unless, if you strike out with Damian Lillard, then yes, but not before that. We already saw what the Nets look like. What's that mean? What does that mean? if they weren't injured, they made it to game 7 overtime with one player in Kevin Durant. So what does that mean? We already saw what the Nets look like. If he's not hurt, if James Harden and Kyrie Irving don't get hurt, that doesn't go 7. So you didn't see what the Nets look like at all. At all. You did not see it. Yes, Alex, I do believe that the Sixers have the best no, not the best. No. I don't know if they have the best, but they're in the conversation for one of the bests. So I don't know if it will be the best, but I do think that they're at least going to be in the mix. They're not going to be ruled out instantly. It's not going to be a laughing joke and a laughing matter. They're going to at least be in the legitimate conversation. They're going to be in the final 3. If you think about the Cy Young Award, right? And you got your 3 nominations. They'll probably be in the 3. They'll probably be in that last call, but I don't know if they get the last call. That's the difference. Dinwiddie? Yeah. I'd have to see how it all shapes up with Dinwiddie. I forget where he's at right now. What would you have to – where is he with his contract? Where is Spencer Dinwiddie with his contract? I'd have to do a little more research on it. Right now, he is he a UFA? I'm confused here on what's happening on Sports Track with him. What is Spencer? Because he declined a player option, right? He declined his player option, so he's a free agent. Okay. I thought you meant trade Ben Simmons for Spencer Dinwiddie. Well, you're very limited in money. You can't just go out and if he's going to get bigger money, you can't just do that. You have very limited options with the MLEs and things of that nature. So it's not even close to just being able to sign these major free agents with a ton of money in free agency. So if Spencer Dinwiddie's going to get paid, you can't just pick him up. So I don't think it's reality at all. Brodes, shut up. We were injured as well. What are you saying? Danny Green? So losing Kyrie Irving and losing James Harden is the equivalent of Danny Green not being there? Okay. If you think the reason why the Sixers fell short was because of injuries and not because your point guard stinks, well, okay. Kudos to you. Kudos to you. The same people who are screaming keep Ben are the same people that think, okay, well, no reason to go into that. Thoughts on the playoff games over the weekend? I thought the Phoenix Suns game was super boring, and they won. I mean, it was probably like the greasiest, grindiest, boring game. What is this phone call? Is this important? I don't know. I get random phone calls all the time about my car warranty. That's probably what it is. That Phoenix Suns game on Saturday night was just abysmal. I mean, it was a bad brand of basketball, but it was a big win. It was a big win. Doesn't matter how. Sometimes you got to win ugly as well, and that's very important. So winning ugly is very crucial. And last night was a fun game, but you saw Chris Middleton, you saw the Bucks go down and score some big buckets late. Watch some big buckets late. Would be a shame to lose Maxey. Not if you get Damian Lillard. It wouldn't be a shame to lose Maxey if you get Damian Lillard. It's like, no, it wouldn't be. And Maxey's going to be a fun player. And Maxey's going to be good when he gets older. And he has a skill set that's nice. Not even thinking about it. Not even thinking about it for Damian Lillard. It's a no-brainer. You easily give up on Tyrese Maxey for a player like Damian Lillard. Should the Phillies sell? Yes. Yeah, they have to do something major. They have to do something major, which it doesn't really add up to their thought process earlier. Signing Bryce Harper, signing JT, getting those bigger names, and then saying we have to retool. But what they have to do is retool. They have to reshape everything. They have to do so many different things. I trade Reese. I trade Nola because they have value. I trade Nola. You need value. You legitimately need to get value back, and you need to get some prospects. The problem is I don't trust the people making the moves. So what they need to do, I don't trust the people who are doing it. I know what they need to do, but I don't trust the people who are doing it. They're not going to do it anyway. But if they were to do it, I wouldn't trust them to pull the right pieces together. So the Phillies stink. That's the moral of the story. All right, I want to thank everyone so much for hanging out today here on Coffee with Brodes. It's 10 a.m., so that means we are shutting down. Coffee was completed. We finished the coffee. I need to make another coffee, that's for sure. And I got a long day ahead of me. I do. I want to thank everyone so much for hanging out. I'll be making a podcast at some point today or tonight. See you guys later.